Hi, everybody. It is 3:11 p.m. on August 20th. Is it hump day? I think it is. It is hump day. Um, on my way to the park today because I'm going to do my walk. Oh, I took some more pictures. It's pretty awesome. I'll show you that in another video coming up. I think you might be able to see him. But it's really amazing. It's like there's like a wizard right here. He's got like this cone hat. It's pretty fascinating. It's really clear as day. Okay. But anyway, not to get off subject. So I was on my way to the park today and I was thinking about how the media doesn't talk about, what just happened in Texas. I think there was around 200 kids or less, 190 kids or something like that, that were found. And I think there's like 22 people or something like that being charged for like using him for labor. And I think it was in the marijuana fields. Actually, let's see if we can see if there's, I think the Washington Post or New York, I think it was the Washington Post, they talked about it. Children in Texas found. Let's see if that comes up. It says, oh, this is June 2025. Oh, it was June 2025, the FBI operation in North Texas, Operation Sotera Shield. That is interesting because I think they were talking about Obama's real name. Oh, it may not have anything to do with that. I'm just going to check something out. Real name. No, of course the media or the Google's going to show. Oh, here it is. Barry, his real name. So it's kind of interesting because if you look at the actors that are on stage, it's like they give themselves different names. So that's why I think that maybe Trump has a different name, or perhaps not. Wait a minute. I think his mother and father did have a different name from Germany. I think they were from. And I think when they come over here to the United States and New York, when they had their children, Trump and his brothers and sisters, I think when they come over here, they changed it to Trump. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, Barack Obama, okay, when in fact he went by the name Barry. Now, Soetoro, Sotoro. Now, let's look at this. So, Sotera Shield, okay, is just different. Just seems like similar names. Rescued 109 children from a child exploitation. Can't even say the word. Arrested 244 individuals. That's a lot. The operation involves 70 agencies, including local police, federal agency, prosecutors, child advocacy centers, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Yeah, that is serious. So, of course, it's not on the media. But anyway, I just want to talk about that type of symbolism. Or bring that up to a point about the children. And then when you look at this, what they call a trans kind of movement. Um, they use transitional, right? But they still have the bottom part because that's illegal in the United States to perform. From what I heard, right, and everybody says. So if we look at some of the stars and actors today, like some of the women actors, let's use Taylor Swift, for example. Her hips, she's got a man's figure. There's, I can't think of, there's videos out on you can tell. And then they even show back when they're in grade school and high school where they're, different names. Uh, they're born into different names. That's why I was saying that what we're looking at and hearing from are all, like stage names. I don't even know if these are actually their real names. Or like, yeah, different names. Perhaps that's why they never get prosecuted. It's because they're using a different name and they can't be. When you go into a court of law, you have to be who you are, your name. So, but anyway, I'm just assuming on that part. But the trans movement, so if you look at some of the actors and the stars or the singers and stuff like Taylor, they transition them at a very young age. So they got to get them very young, right? That way they can take the estrogen, and the more they take, their body starts to form out more of a woman, more of the female that comes out of them. And it's not far-fetched either, because you look at some of the females they've done that to, the girls, that the little girls they've done to, they look like men now, with so much steroids or testosterone. I think that's what they're injecting them with. So, but they still have the female parts. So it's interesting when we look at the evil in this world, and we look at that goat god, right? If we look at that character compared to this trans movement, that's what that is. It's a goat with the male parts and breast. So it's kind of deceiving, right? Deception. And then when you look at the world stage with these females that are representing themselves as females that are actually males, because they all transitioned at a young age. What is that name? She's a famous actress, and her children, her 3 boys, she transitioned them at a young age and said that they're now girls. And so they even look miserable when she's standing behind taking a photo of them. They're just looking down at the ground, and they're dressed up like little girls. They're not smiling or anything or posing. They're just looking down. It's like they're being forced into this. So that's why I was saying, now I get the understanding of evil. Evil will rise up. We are now in that time period, and have been in that time period probably for the last 5 years or so, of them rising up and how they're going to the schools. And remember how even Nancy Pelosi says that we're after your children. And then I think it was Biden that mentioned they're fighting for souls. I mean, it's just in the words that they use when they're out preaching, and no one's really thinking about, they're not thinking deeply about what's going on here. And then that song I was telling you about, Sammy Hagar, about the world cracking, and it says in his lyrics, it mentions the Great Divide in 2025. You will know when or where or what or why and who, or something like that. Who gets to leave and who stays, right? That type of thing. And it's kind of interesting because I got the short clip I did about Safeway and Albertsons, where it shows Safeway, this big red symbol with an S through it, like the sun. And then you got Albertsons, which looks like a dome. And if you look at our world is a fishbowl, and it's also a terrarium where you grow vegetables and stuff. So it's kind of interesting when you think of it like that, and then you look at your body and know that your body is like 80% water, and 20%, flesh would be the land. Again, isn't that amazing? And then when you look at what the world of how they're trying to trick people into being in women's clothes and taking estrogen and doing all these things and the changing themselves, that it's such a trap that I wish that more people understood. And again, it goes back to, where a lot of these, even some of these people, um, men, come into this world and they're like, I feel like a woman. That's understandable because you have an X chromosome in you. The X chromosome is the female chromosome. It's like from mother, right? And then you have the Y chromosome from Yeshua, right? The son. And it's quite interesting because so you got father, and then you got, let's say, the X chromosomes on the left, the Y chromosome is on the right. So Jesus stays to the right-hand side of the Father. So you got father, mother, and then, because mother's the X chromosome, which would be the negative side, negative energy, let's put it that way. And then you got Yahshua, the blue. So it's like, but anyway, when you look at deeper, and you look at your environment, and then you look at yourself and how you're part of this environment and how it works. And then if you look at how evil is transitioning these children, and that's how they're taking souls. They're brainwashing them and tricking them into taking this stuff, which is bad for your health and stuff like that. And then we hear stories that are recently about kids that are now older that had this stuff done to them, and they're having all these regrets. They're having serious mental issues and mental problems. So again, it goes back to when I say that we're bisexual, we're male and female, the male body, because we're created first, and then you have female that's created out of Adam, out of man, which the left rib cage, the left side is the X chromosome. Rib cage is, it's a parable, right? Rib cage is ribonucleic acid, which is the RNA of the DNA of Adam, which would be the X chromosome. So again, that's why some men, I had the hardest time when I was like probably 8 or 9. I knew that I steered more towards the other gender. I went out with women. I've, been with women growing up and stuff like that. I knew that I didn't really want to be with the woman because I didn't want to have children. I had this mindset already, and I didn't want to have children because others around me, I seen how hard it was. I seen how hard it was for me, and I'm like, there's no way I'm bringing a child into this world, and there's no way I'm going to deal with a woman, that type of energy. Because I was watching my mom, my aunts, because you just grow as you're growing up. You're just like, no, not for me. That could be for you guys, but not for me. I'm not into that. So I made my decision because I'm bisexual. I can choose either way, but I don't choose to wear women's clothes. I'm proud of my body. So anyway, to those who want to transition, that if you listen to my channel, just remember that that's actually negative, and you're actually worshiping the other God, right? The God of this land. The prince of principalities or whatever. So anyway, do whatever you do, don't fall for the tricksters. And as a gay bisexual man myself, I already know how that, how the LGBTQ, I don't even associate with that group. I think they're just evil. I think they're vile. I think that they're just manipulating, they use, or trying to control the world kind of like thing. Where they plaster flags everywhere. It's like, or they're marching because they don't get, they're just out of control. They're not even representing when we first started out, we wanted to have the same rights as a marriage couple. Okay, we got it. We got the same benefits and everything. And then now they wanted more and more, and they did start entering the schools more into there. But I'll tell you what, that all started happening when Michael Obama was the first lady for 8 years, and then it leaves office, and then going through the Trump administration, you have this big uproar, and all the schools are infected. Remember, he went in and changed the whole school program. And it's kind of interesting because you had Ellen promoting it. You had, and they were just showing the flopping thing right out in front of everybody. And I just seen a post on Facebook today saying, Michelle would be great as the president. And there's like all these people with hearts and everything. And then all these people commenting, all these black people, of course, commenting, saying, oh, she'd be wonderful. I'm like, it's not a she, it's a he. And they're like, no, it's not. No, it's not. They cannot see. That's another thing about this world is people are totally blinded. And just like when I was showing you the images on my face and stuff, wow, they're really coming out. In my eyes, I was like thinking, some people can see them. Some people can see these images and some people cannot. Even on the ones on my chest, some people can see them. Let's see if you can see the one in the white here. Yeah, there she is. That one right there. It's actually all white, but the thing is kind of bright. But they're all over my body. I think I even showed you guys that there was some on my head and on the top of my head and on the back. Oh, and behind my ear down there, I was looking through some pictures, and I was noticing there was images of people through here as well. So it's like I'm a walking mural. So again, that just goes back to me saying, treat your body, men, treat your body as a male, and don't be careful of the tricksters. Remember, be careful of those in white robes, black and white robes. It's mentioned, those doing sorcery, witchcraft. That means pharma, injections, and that's what they're taking, and that's what they're doing to change themselves. And remember, our bodies were created in this world to play a particular role. And a lot of times we're in these roles because of our past lives are being brought forward. So if you look in this world today, you'll see that a lot of people that are running in these nations and states are from past lives. And so then I heard something about yesterday about the 23andMe, that DNA thing, how, because it kind of shut down, and they were talking about how corrupt that was. But they're talking about the reason why they had that is because they were looking for other bloodlines that were defeating the dark back then that are in this timeline now. So just like in my vision, when I was at God's feet, I knew a couple of years ago before that I was Daniel, that I lived Daniel's life. Which I think that has a lot to do, because if you look at Daniel's grave over in Susa, Iran, his grave site is like a big church, and on top of it is a big cone. Remember in IPEC Go 2, Bush has on his head a big white cone? That's what's on top of Daniel's tomb. It's like this, it's a one-story place, one-story like church kind of like thing, memorial. And then on top of it is this big, huge cone shape, and it's white. So I think that has a lot to do, and that's why everybody's important. So don't get caught up in transitioning or taking anything, because, again, we're born into this world for a reason, and We're repeating. Remember, if we look at the Bible, everything repeats itself. Everything repeats itself. So if it's repeating itself, that means we are repeating ourselves and rebirthing into a timeline. You look back at the future, Back to the Future. Doc and Marty are in all the timelines. They're in each timeline as it goes back. They're all playing these roles. So it's like, and they're being reborn every year. Every time they leave out of this body, they get reincarnated into another body and reborn into the timelines going forward. That's how all this is. I figured out is working. So that's how I know that, plus me being in my meditation and my visions with God and Michael and Gabriel. So, and building up on your spirituality. And so take less of this, of everything that you can, and this, and taking downers and drinking, have a drink every once in a while, but don't get so drunk that, because remember, when you get so drunk, that's the best time that the dark comes in, and then they really start messing with your head. But, ouch, got a kink in my neck. I went for my walk today. It was so great. But anyway, I'll end this, but I just wanted to tell you what come to my mind and what on my walk today, what I was like visually seeing kind of in my mind's eye of why they're going after the children. They're changing them because they got to start them earlier, because when they start them earlier with this stuff, injections and stuff, when they get to probably by 2021, 22, they've already got the female, the breasts and everything, and they look more feminine as well. It changes the body. But anyway, have a great day. Tell me what you think about it, and I'll show you the new images that I found on my that are coming out on my face and stuff.